How do plumbing services vary across different areas in Calgary? Well, the best way to think of the city of Calgary is inner city, the Beltline area, and the outside, kind of more bedroom-style communities in the outsides of the city. When we get into the inner city, right, and especially like northeast Calgary, southeast, southwest, all those houses kind of tend to be the same when they're in that like 5 or 6 kilometer radius around the city. A lot of these houses have been built in the, 1920s to 1950s. They're gonna have older plumbing drains, especially leaving the building. And what's really common is sewer backups in those areas. Those are gonna be tending to have to rely on replacing the sewer completely or doing sewer replacements or liners in their sewer. That's an inner city problem. Now, when you get out a little bit more to houses that were built in the a little bit outside, like that outer belt line further than then, houses that were built in the late 80s to mid 2000s, like to 90s, what we see there is poly B. So houses that were built before then all had copper water lines. Not a big deal. Those tend to last for a long time. Now, when you get into the poly B era, that kind of ranges from the late 70s build to the mid 90s. A lot of those houses, that's the gray pipe. So whether you're in the northwest Calgary, southeast Calgary, southwest Calgary, or southwest Calgary, a lot of those houses in that 90s build area have poly B water lines. Now, the best thing to do is try to coordinate a poly B replacement with a renovation, and if you're really concerned, a proactive replacement, engaging with the drywall and painting repairs that come along, and try to mitigate the damage as best as possible. The most common issue that we'll see in those era of houses is poly B replacements. They tend not to have problems with their drainage yet or their main sewers. They tend to have more problems just with the existing water lines. And then really like every 10 to 15 years, doesn't matter where you are in the city, starting to look at problems with your hot water tank. Those hot water tanks fail in that like 7 to 10 year mark. Anything after 10 years is a gift, and just budget that, $1,500 to $3,000 or $4,000, depending on what type of hot water tank you have for replacement. When you get to the other communities, so houses that were built in the 2000s, right, or 2010s, those houses we see a lot more failures in the furnace that they have. They have way more components, which is what makes them high efficient and what saves money on utility bills. But there's a lot more failure of components because they have more components to fail. And this goes to the hot water tanks as well. The older style hot water tanks and furnaces don't have very many components to fail, and they don't. The newer components do. So if you're in a newer house, really understanding the age of your equipment, and once your hot water tank and furnace is out of warranty, really starting to budget for that replacement cost. Repairing a newer model furnace tends to be a little bit cost prohibitive because the total value of the expense of repair tends to be 25 to 50% of the cost of replacement.